Hey there, Steve at Foxcan Farms. I just thought I'd share something with you about our Harvest Right freeze dryer that we just got, namely adjusting the door so that you get a good seal. So, when we first got our freeze dryer, we didn't have a good seal. In fact, I could see when I looked from the side that it wasn't even touching, okay? And I didn't really find a lot of, at least, maybe I looked too quickly, but I didn't really see much in the Harvest Right manual. It says that if you can't get a good seal, that you might need to adjust the door, right? And I think there's some maybe suggestion in there that you give them a call. And you know, as you get your freeze dryer and it's in the evening or on the weekend, and you just want to use it. So what I did is I just spent some time looking at how it was made, right, and figured out how to make some adjustments to make the door seal. And I thought I would just share this with you in case anybody else is having this issue, because when it arrived at our house, brand new, the door did not seal. Now, a little disappointing, you know, I must humbly admit, because you spend a lot of money on something like this. You'd think that they could at least have the seal set up. The other little thing problem we had on the seal was, as far as getting a vacuum, not getting a vacuum, was over on the side, right, where you've got your vacuum release over here, where those two pieces connected. That was not very tight, and so I also did some tightening there to help with the seal. But the biggest issue with us was the door, and that's what I want to spend a little time talking to you about and just share that with you, and hopefully it'll be helpful for you. Again, you want to be careful. I highly recommend you call Harvest Right customer service and get their help, and be very careful with some of the things I'm about to show you as far as the adjustments. I felt comfortable doing it myself, but please don't make any decisions based upon what I say. I'm just going to share with you some thoughts, and maybe you call customer service and then you've already got some background for what they'll be walking you through in terms of helping you seal the door or adjust the door, as the manual says. So yeah, so there's 4 points of adjust, or actually there's 6 points of adjustment. There's 2 points on the door hinge. Then there's these bolts. I'm not sure if this one will show up here, but here, well, here, and here, and one over here. And these bolts here are connected to the cooling chamber, and so that enables you to kind of, you know, adjust it, whether you loosen it or tighten those bolts. And so the key thing here is that you have a thin black line, and I don't know if this will show up in the video or not, but there's a thin, if you get the right angle, a thin black line where the door is hitting the seal. In our case, as I started to look at it, there were a couple spots, like one was down here and then one was up here. And if I looked from the side up here, the gap was so big that it wasn't even touching the seal at all, so it wasn't even close. So on the hinges, and we can take a look at that in a little bit, you can adjust the door in and out, okay, or, you know, this way is appropriate. But also, the added little thing is you take a hex key in here and you can adjust these parts of the chamber so you can tighten or loosen it, okay? So in our case, it wasn't even touching up here. So initially I started by adjusting this, and all you do is loosen. There's a nut on the back here. Maybe we'll have you come around this side and take a look at that. Okay, so right here, to adjust the door, right, there's a nut right back here. Loosen that nut, and then you can adjust using a hex key. You can adjust it so that it goes in or out, and then you hold it there and just tighten that up with your wrench. You know, you wrench the two against each other. But so the way to think about this is that if it's not touching, say like on this edge here, okay, then this door needs to come this way, right? The other thing is that you can use those 4 bolts that I'm talking about to pull the chamber out by tightening it, or loosen it so that it can go back in, and then you can adjust this accordingly. So you just kind of have to think about it So in our case, it wasn't touching up here at all. Initially I just adjusted these, but then it was so hard to close the door. You don't want that, because that's putting a lot of tension, if you will, on this spot here, because this is where it's going to hit first. And then I came across one gentleman that had a video, it wasn't even on YouTube, forget where it was, where he's adjusting these. So I adjusted those, and I got to the point where finally it was touching up here, and then I had to loosen this because it was way too tight, because you don't want too much tension. But then there was a spot down here where it wasn't touching. So the way you need to think about that is, if I can't tighten this down here anymore, which was my situation, or this one, to pull it out, then think about it. What I need to do is take this hinge up here and pull this hinge out, because then, right, the whole thing will tip this way. And then I got it to touch here, and adjusting using the bolts, combination of everything, got a nice good seal all the way around. So I just thought I'd share that with you, because I didn't really see a whole lot of discussion about adjusting the door on a Harvest Right freeze dryer, and it was something that I kind of had to work through. And again, I did find a video, it wasn't on YouTube, I don't remember where it was, but there was a gentleman who talked about these bolts. Okay, so hopefully you found that helpful, and make it happen.